Guys, so in this video you're actually going to see me do two illustrations for a TikTok slash Instagram challenge. I believe it was called the BADDIE challenge. I'm going to put some links in the description box for y'all to kind of look and see what I'm trying to do. But I did this challenge about a month or so ago. I'm just not posting it. Please forgive me. But I had a really good time creating this. And I'm also going to put a link in the description box so that you can actually see the finished product as well. And just definitely let me know what you think. And I just really, truly hope that you enjoy kind of following along with me in this process. And let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first portion of the drawing that I'm going to do is actually going to be of a girl brushing her teeth. So here, of course, I am creating the skeleton and created the lips, eyebrows, and nose. And now, of course, you can see the handle of the toothbrush. And like I said earlier, I am going to put some links to some examples of the video. The challenge is actually, I believe it's called the BADDIE challenge, where you actually see like the before and after. So I'm actually drawing a girl who is going to be in her bathrobe with a bonnet on her head, but she's from Slytherin, so everything of course is going to have kind of like a green, black, and silver color scheme. So here you see I'm doing the eyes, and of course I've already done the bonnet, kind of fleshed out the hands and stuff a little bit more as well. And with this challenge, I wanted to try to create a more realistic version of a female, because the other couple of illustrations that I posted have been more animated, more cartoonish, and so I wanted this one to kind of have more of a comic book feel to it, since that is, you know, what I went to school for. But just creating it, of course, on a tablet and Procreate was definitely a new challenge for me. So here I am just duplicating the eyes, making sure that I put some light in her eyes to make it a little bit more realistic. And now I'm just kind of creating the shading for her lips, because I want it to be a kind of a realistic lip tone, you know. And of course I put a blackhead patch, and I put little pieces of like toothpaste on her face as well for her pimples. And here's where I'm starting to actually add the green values. So of course the toothbrush is going to be light green, and of course the darker green. Just added the teeth in here, doing the skin tone and the toothpaste. Adding to the bonnet now. And I also wanted to experiment some more with textures, so I went ahead and shaded it first and then put the texture over it, and just did some highlights, because a lot of things in Slytherin in the Harry Potter films, they almost kind of glowed in the Slytherin house, so I wanted her robe to kind of glow as well. So I was adding a lot of highlights in this particular illustration of her. Okay, so now I'm just kind of shading her skin in some. I wanted her skin to somewhat glow a little bit, but I also didn't want it to look muddy either. So I spent quite a bit of time on this portion, even though you're seeing it in a time lapse. It took me way longer than that, but I was definitely happier with the outcome once I kind of understood the brushes a little bit better and was able to kind of smooth some things around. And I just wanted to make sure that I outlined the toothbrush some more, so I put some white around that. Also added some green tints to her face as well, some shading to her eyes. And a little bit of texture to the nose strips too. And there we have it. Okay, so for the second portion, this is actually the after of her, getting her teeth brushed and everything. So here as you can see in the corner, I wanted to kind of study the shape of a female's face just to make sure that, it didn't look too oblong. So, of course, I have the lips, making sure that the eyes are actually still in keeping with the first illustration. That's one of the main reasons why I have that reference down there, because I just wanted to make sure that even though she's going to look different, you would still be able to know, hey, that's the same girl. So here I added some jewelry. I wanted to make sure that she did have things that were representative of Slytherin. And I wanted to make sure that she also still had a natural hairstyle. So I did some research on the texture of braids and, just kind of a more intricate kind of hairstyle for her. Made sure to give her a little lip ring. I thought that would be cute and kind of, badass for a Slytherin girl. And that is actually my hands. I wanted to make sure that I was holding, what would be considered a wand correctly. I just wanted to make sure that the wand was still nice and intricate, something that you definitely would see at Ollivander's. And gave her some rings and wanted to make sure, of course, that she had her pet snake because, of course, she would be a parcel mouth. So just wanted to make sure I was very detailed with the snake kind of wrapping around the wand. Of course, use that reference again to make sure I had the eyes correct. And also add some jewels to her hair too. And here, of course, now I'm outlining everything before I apply all of the color. Yeah, so add some detail, of course, to the braids. Also, of course, to the edges of her hair too. And of course, with braids, they're not going to be so close together that you're not going to see the scalp. But I make sure to keep a little bit of space in between each one. And so here now I'm just adding the texture to the braids. It's so amazing to actually watch back the work that you've done when you remember kind of what you were doing and how long it took, and you're like, wow, that's what it actually looked like when I was actually doing it. How cool. So now I'm just kind of adding to the front braids. Now I'm adding the hair jewelry. Now moving on to her face. I want to make sure those eyebrows are perfectly arched, but still in a realistic way. Making sure that eye color is still the same. And she had to have green lipstick. There was no other color that she could have. I wanted her to almost kind of look like a Slytherin rock star. So just kind of wanted to make sure she was just as badass as she could be. Okay, now I'm getting on to the earrings. And because, of course, one of Slytherin's other colors is gray, I wanted to make sure that I did give her silver jewelry as well as green. You know, and of course her hair was going to be black. So, you know, that was, you know, no-brainer. But I just wanted to make sure that I put in elements of the silver and maybe like a darker silver as well. Yeah, so here I'm actually drawing scales on her earring. Wanted to put some jewels in the skin as well. And now I'm moving on to the bigger snake. Also wanted to make sure that her hands looked pretty realistic as well. So of course I'm adding the folds, you know, that are on your knuckles and the creases in your fingers. And wanted to make sure that I gave her well manicured nails, of course green. Had to have jewelry, all the rings. And that's what I meant when I said a darker silver. So as you can tell, I did add a darker silver in the rings. And then of course the green emeralds. Yeah, that's the word. Emeralds on top. Okay, so here for the wand is kind of where I got a little tricky. I was trying to figure out kind of what texture I was going to use, so I tried to channel my inner Ollivander, of course, and wanted to make sure that the metal, of course, kind of had the same texture as a snake to it, but still, you know, kind of gave it still a metal look. So here, of course, I'm adding some more kind of highlights and shading to the wand. So it'll look a little bit more realistic. Just add some white on top. And now back to the snake. So I wanted to kind of stay in keeping with whatever green I already had on there. And here I'm kind of doing the undercoat highlights. Because you know, a snake's skin is so detailed and it's so intricate. So definitely did some research on different types of snakes for this. And then of course the underbelly. And so here is where the real detail is. I love drawing snake skin for some reason. I don't know why. But here I just wanted to make sure that the snake had custom scales. And so I literally did the scales all the way around the snake. Did this take me a long time? Yes. Did I enjoy every second of it? Yes. So, you know, if you're kind of into kind of intricate details like this, I mean, definitely go for it, because the outcome to me is amazing. So I would definitely say the more detail, the better, but that's how I draw. If you want to keep your snake simple, hey, do you. But for me, I just definitely wanted to make sure that the scales were small enough to look realistic, but also, you know, just I wanted you to be able to look at it and actually kind of feel the texture of the skin, if that makes sense. Even though it still is kind of a whimsical kind of look, I just really wanted to make sure that the scales came out the way that I wanted them to. Okay, coming to the end of the snake details. Wanted to add a little bit more kind of white highlights to the skin. There we go. Draw back in my reference for the skin. Make sure she's a nice, beautiful chocolate brown. Here now I am contouring her face, starting with probably kind of the darkest browns and kind of working my way outward. So of course under the braids, of course in the crease of your nose is primarily, and under your lips and under your chin is going to be where, you know, your darkest shadows are going to be. So I wanted to make sure I hit those first, then came back with a light highlight, and then wanted to make sure that I, like I said, worked my way out. So highlighting the cheeks, of course, the shoulders and the neck, under the eyes a little bit with some highlights. And I decided to do the hands last because I wanted to kind of figure out what I wanted her to look like first. Had to add some glam makeup. Wanted to make sure that every piece of her jewelry glowed too. There we go. Perfect. And of course, the snake had to glow. There was no other way around it. You just had to. So of course, it makes sense to have the light highlighting under her eyes and stuff because the snake is glowing. And that's my baby. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Like I said, don't forget to check out the link below to see how the finished product all came out. I'll talk to you guys later. As always, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. And also don't forget I can be found on these multiple platforms from Miss Lacy Studios as well as MLS Denim. Look forward to connecting with you.